Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father in the ancient Hebrew. Bahasham meaning in the name of Yahweh Shai, which is the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. I want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Alright, I'm just going to be continuing Daniel the 11th chapter. Okay, starting at around the 32nd verse. All right, where we left off last video. So basically, at this point, this is after the second time Antiochus has returned. Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes has returned from Egypt. You know, when he got stopped by the Roman envoy Gaius Popilius Lanus, and you know, he did exploits and abominations and, you know, destruction to Israel, as well as sending, you know, armies to go and do some more damage and pollution to the sanctuary, which is spoken of here in Daniel 11 verse 31. Okay, and in verse 32 it says, "And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries." All right, so you had not only those that were for his part, okay, his armies and so on and so forth, but also wicked Israelites, okay, who had sold out. Okay, so they were corrupted, all right, by flatteries. You know, he paid them off, whether through money or status, you know, or fine promises. Okay, there were certain Israelites that joined the side of Antiochus. All right, now it says, "But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits." All right, which when you go into the book of First Maccabees, the first chapter, all right, it tells you as they committed these atrocities, all right, there were still certain Israelites around the 62nd verse, all right, as it says here, "Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat anything unclean, wherefore the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with the meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant, so they died." All right, so there were certain Israelites, okay, who knew their power. All right, they stood firm for the Lord, the covenant, the laws. All right, and you know, they stood whether to sacrifice their life, you know, or, you know, fight back. All right, they did those exploits. Verse 33, it says, "And they that understand among the people shall instruct many." All right, which is dealing with those Israelites, okay, the righteous, who, you know, an example would be Mattathias, okay, and the Maccabean family. All right, as well as, you know, other Israelites, but mainly, you know, we read about the Maccabean family. All right, the brothers, you know, who ended up later on setting up the Hasmonean dynasty. All right, so I should really call them the Hasmonean family. Okay, now it says they shall instruct many, and we're gonna read about the account of that. It says, "Yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days." Okay, so even though they you had the Maccabean family, all right, that were basically you know, helping Jake, instructing Jake, fighting back. All right, you still had Jake, the righteous ones, die, okay, by getting put to death, whether by the sword or by flame or by captivity. And even Judas Maccabeus himself, all right, died in battle, all right, by way of the sword. Okay, so now let's go to the book of First Maccabees, the second chapter. All right, and we're gonna read a bit from the top and jump down just to hit the main point. So this is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 1. And it says, "In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan called Caddis, Simon called Thasai, Judas called, or who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis. Now, of course, they sound a little weird as well because this is from the Greek translation. All right. So it says, and when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. All right, and then it goes on down. Now I'm going to jump down to right about the I'll write about the 15th verse. So it says, in the mean, while the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city Modin and made them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. It says, then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore come thou first, and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. See, so this is an example of the flatteries, okay, that of course he offered this to Mattathias and his sons, which they refused. But you had certain Israelites who, when they were offered this, did not refuse. That's why they were able to be corrupted by flatteries. Okay, so this will be an example. All right, you have the status, the king's friends, you know, the money, silver and gold, and many rewards, those fine promises. All right. So it says, then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice. Okay. Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or on the left. Now when he had left off speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all, Jake, to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. So, all right, as you know, this officer is trying to compel Mattathias to come and be the first to sacrifice upon the altar. All right, he's here telling them, no, we're not gonna do that. And then after he's done, in his sight, you have a wicked ass Israelite that just pulls, all right, whatever, you ain't gonna do it, I'll do it. You know, so he comes there getting ready to sacrifice, which, you know, this wasn't a righteous sacrifice. That's why Mattathias refused. All right. So going back to Daniel 11:33, it says, and they that understand among the people shall instruct many. So we're reading about an example of that. Okay, so it says, which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to shew his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. So you can imagine that, you know, he got so angry, all right, that he started basically shaking, you know, to where, you know, just imagine that actual anger that is so strong you can't hide it. Okay, and so that's why it says he was inflamed with zeal, seeing that abomination. Okay, now I believe. Yeah, see, he was a priest. All right, so he was a priest. He was a Levite. So seeing that, of course, it infuriated him. So he ended up slaying that wicked Israelite that was going to perform the sacrifice. Also, the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, the son of Salom. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law, and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. And he and his sons fled into the mountains, and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness and dwelt there. All right, because remember, it says that they shall what? They shall, where we at? They shall instruct many. All right, in other words, to lead. All right, and that's what they basically did, starting with Mattathias. You know, first by rallying the righteous Israelites, telling them we got to get out of here, and then, you know, after setting up the order before dying, you know, setting up Judas as the leader. I believe he set up, if I'm not mistaken, one of the other brothers, I think it might have been Jonathan or so, as the head, you know, and they instructed many as well. Okay, fought back, took back certain strongholds. Okay, it says, and went down into the wilderness and dwelt there, both they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. All right, so that's dealing with that first part, them instructing many. Now it says, yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, and by captivity, and by spoil many days. All right, because even though you had, you know, some of these Israelites that were able to, you know, that followed Mattathias, you still had other Israelites that were that had that righteous mindset. However, they were still dying by these different various ways. And an example of that is dealing with a man by the name of Eleazar. All right, which, let's see. All right, that's here in the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6. Okay, verse, hold on a second. All right, 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, verse, let's see, starting at 18, right? And this goes into the story of Eleazar. Now, I'm not going to read through the whole thing, all right, because I don't want to make this video too long. Okay, so from the 18th verse on down to the 31st verse, it goes into a man by the name of Eleazar, all right, who was an aged man. It says a principal scribe, all right, and basically they wanted him to eat pork, okay, but he said no, he wasn't going to eat it. Okay, he wasn't going to eat it, and they said, look, man, we don't want to. You had certain individuals that came up to him and said, look, we don't even want you to die. We don't want to do this to you, so how about just eat something else, but we'll say it's pork, so it looks like you're eating pork, but you're really not, so that you can, you know, you can survive. And he said no. All right, he said no, because even just the image of me eating pork, even if it's not actual pork, but that image going out is a stain. You know, it's hypocrisy. Okay, it's matter of fact, let me just read it. All right, this is the book of Eleazar, the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 18. And also, in addition to this, you also had you know, dealing with certain of them that fell by the sword, by the flame, and so on and so forth. You also had the 7 brothers and their mother, which I believe that's in the book of 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter. Okay, where, you know, you can read the 7th chapter, the whole chapter. It goes into those 7 brothers, all right, who were tormented and put to death, you know, for refusing, okay, to eat pork, all right, as the king had commanded, and their mother as well. Okay, so you can read about that. So it says here, Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth. So they forced him and put pork in his mouth so he can eat it, and he actually spat it out. All right, it says, and came of his own accord to the torment. So they're saying, look, you eat this joint or we're going to torture you and kill you. All right. But he spat it out and said, look, basically, you're going to torture me. And mind you, this is an older man. But here it is. You had Israelites, even in their old age, willing to suffer torture and die than to eat pork. But here it is, you got Jake over here that'll fight you so they can eat it. They won't fight you so they can't eat it. They're gonna fight you so they can. All right. Shows you how powerful the curses of the Lord are. Where we could go from this to what you're seeing here in the world 2021. It's a complete 180. All right. It says, and it behooved them to come. It says, as it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. All right. It says, but they that had the charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision. So they knew him. So they said, look, just bring whatever meat you got, whatever you eat. It says, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king. So they sacrifice pork, all right, and then they say, come and eat of this sacrifice. That was the order of the king, all right, of Antiochus, that demon. Okay. It says that in so doing he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, as it became his age, the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his gray head, meaning he was old, whereon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by the Most High. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. So he said, look, man, I'd rather die. Because what? He considered all these things. You know? How when he was younger, you know, the things he did, how basically he was always on point. You know? Grew up in the right ways. Now, you know, and his reputation, even in his old age, all right, was good. All right, he was taught the correct ways as a child. All right, the holy laws given by the Most High. So he thought about all these things and he said, look, put me to death, bro. You know? So it says, for it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old and 10, were now gone to a strange religion. See? So Eleazar was 90 years old. All right, 80 is 80 plus 10 makes it 90. So he's saying, look, he doesn't want younger people to think that here it is, he was good, and then when he turned 90, when he got up old, he went to a strange religion. You know, meaning he forsook the ways, all right, that he grew up in, you know, and his rep, all right, and he went and, you know, partook of the ways of Antiochus. So it says, so they through mine hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and moment longer should be deceived by me, and I get a stain to mine old age and make it abominable. See, so he's saying, look, I'm not even going to pretend to eat pork because that's going to be a bad example to the younger men, the younger individuals, because they're going to look at me as a hypocrite. Because here it is, all 90 years of my life, I've been doing what's right and teaching what's right, directing people. And here it is, I'm damn near dead. I'm 90 years old, you know, but just to live a little bit longer, you know, I'm going to forsake the laws of my power. Well, what kind of example is that going to be to them? See, it says, for though for this present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead. See, so if I eat this pork, okay, I could be delivered from the punishment that y'all gonna bestow upon me, but I can never escape from the Most High, whether I'm alive or dead. All right, which is the right way to think. See, the scriptures tell you that in the book of Job that when you die, there the wicked cease from troubling, all right, and the weary are at rest. So when you die, if Esau puts you to death, he can't harm you anymore. But if you make an enemy out of the Most High, it doesn't matter you alive or dead. You're done. What? where you think you going when you dead? You can't escape the Lord. He's there when you alive. He's there when you dead. All right. So it says, verse 27. Wherefore now manfully changing this life, I will show myself such an one as mine age requireth, and leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment, that they led him, changing the good. It says, they that led him, changing the good will they bear him a little before into hatred. See? So they bared him goodwill, and they said, all right, look, we'll even cover for you. But after saying all that, and basically he cut him, all right, they were like, all right, F you then. You know what I'm saying? Like Jacob's, all right, F you then, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Throw your ass in there, man, kick his ass. And it says, because the foresaid speeches proceeded as they thought from a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Lord that hath the knowledge, that hath the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in the body, being beaten. And mind you, he was 90 years old. Okay? It says, but in soul am well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. All right, that is a good example, man. It says, and thus this man died, leaving his death for an example of a noble courage, and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation. All right. So, hey, these are also things to meditate on, man. Remember Eleazar as well. When the hell comes. All right. This man was 90 years old and he still went in there and endured his joint. Okay. All right. So that was an example. All right. Dealing with Daniel 11. And you had many other accounts as well. Okay. Of Israelites that fell by the sword, the flame, the captivity for many days. All right. So moving on to verse 34, it says, now when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help. Okay. So as Israel was, as they basically were going through this, when Antiochus took over, he beat us down, he destroyed our sanctuary. As all this was going on, all right, we were helping, meaning we were helped with a little help. And that was when the Most High raised up the Hasmonean family, Judas, Maccabees, and the rest to go to war and, basically help Jake out, rededicate the temple and all of that. Okay. You also had the Most High that sent angels down, okay, to help us out, in some of our wars. And you also had the Romans, okay, because when you read in the book of First Maccabees, let's go to it actually. Judas sent messengers onto the Romans, okay, for help. Okay, so not 9, the 8th chapter. All right, he actually sent messengers onto the Romans for help. And the first few verses is a recap, basically, of what is told Judas about the Romans. And afterwards, it says here, okay, verse 17. So after they told Judas about all these things concerning the Romans, it says here, in consideration of these things, Judas chose Eupolemus, the son of John, the son of Achos, and Jason, the son of Eleazar, and sent them to Rome to make a league of amity and confederacy with them, and to entreat them that they would take the yoke from them. For they saw that the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude. See? So that was, a part of the help, okay, that Israel was helping with when we were going through this was the Maccabees, or the Hasmonean family, all right, which the Lord raised up, The Lord sent angels down. You can read about that in the I forget the exact chapter in the Maccabees, but it tells you how the Lord sent down angels to fight alongside us in our battles. All right, as well as the Romans. Now we're gonna read as we're reading of it right now. All right, the help. So it says, verse 19, they went therefore to Rome, which was a very great journey, and came into the Senate, where they spake and said, Judas Maccabeus with his brethren and the people of the Jews have sent us unto you to make a confederacy and peace with you, that we might be registered your confederates and friends. So that matter pleased the Romans well, and this is the copy of the epistle which the Senate wrote back again in the tables of brass and sent to Jerusalem, that there they might have by them a memorial of peace and confederacy. Now it's not fully clear, whether the Romans at this time were still Japheth, okay, or Edomites, at this time, that had taken over Japheth. Personally, it looks more like they could have been Japheth at this time, just based on the way they were dealing with others, okay. However, that's just that's my point, that's my view on it, but nonetheless, that's not really relevant to the point of the lesson that I'm teaching right now, okay. But just wanted to put that out there, okay. So it says, so that matter pleased the Romans well, and this is a copy of the epistle which the Senate wrote back again in tables of brass and sent to Jerusalem, that there they might have by them a memorial of peace and confederacy. It says, good success be to the Romans and to the people of the Jews by sea and by land forever, the sword also and enemy be far from them. If there come first any war upon the Romans or any of their confederates throughout all their dominion, the people of the Jews shall help them, as the time shall be appointed, with all their heart. Neither shall they give anything unto them that make war upon them, meaning you're not going to help those that are making war against Rome or their allies. It says, or aid them with victuals, weapons, money, or ships, as it hath seemed good unto the Romans. But they shall keep their covenants without taking anything thereof, or therefore. In the same manner also, if war come first upon the nation of the Jews, the Romans shall help them with their heart, according as the time shall be appointed them. Neither shall victuals be given to them that take part against them, or weapons, or money, or ships, as it hath seemed good to the Romans, but they shall keep their covenants, and that without deceit. It says, according to these articles did the Romans make a covenant with the people of the Jews. Howbeit, Salakia. Howbeit, if hereafter the one party or the other shall think to meet, to add or diminish anything, they may do it as at their pleasures, and whatsoever they shall add or take away shall be ratified. Salakia. So this is dealing with that covenant that they made. It says, and as touching the evils that Demetrius doeth to the Jews, we have written unto him, saying, wherefore thou made thy yoke heavy upon our friends and confederates the Jews. If therefore they complain any more against thee, we will do them justice and fight with thee by sea and by land. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so that was pretty much it there in the 8th chapter. So also going into how they made a league with the Romans, all right, to basically help them out, all right, in that sense. Okay, that was Daniel 11 and verse 34. All right, let's see. I also had a couple other precepts I want to take a look. There's one that I'm looking for. Let me see if I can find it. And so here's also another example, all right, of how we were helping with that little help. Second Maccabees 12 and 11. It says, whereupon there was a very sore battle, but Judas's side helped by the help of God, all right, got the victory, so that the nomads, all right, of Arabia, being overcome, besought Judas for peace, promising both to give him cattle and to pleasure him otherwise, all right. And then also, just in other accounts of what, the small wars and stuff that the Most High helped Judas, and his army to do, okay, to defeat, these their enemies, all right, which were set up by Antiochus, okay. So that's dealing with Daniel 11 and 34, the first part. And then it says, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries, okay. So now as we, got helped and we started coming up and got set up, okay, you now had, actually, let's get the account of it. Okay, you had now the Greeks, all right, Demetrius, okay, and Alexander, which were, different, of different factions, I should say, who now saw us as a power. Now, mind you, prior to, us coming up, into that position, all right, getting out of the position of difficulty and straits after the death of Antiochus, and we get set up. Prior to that, when Demetrius, all right, was ruling, okay, when Demetrius, the son of Ptolemy Philopator, okay, he finally escapes from Rome, and he comes back, and he takes out Lysias and the son of Antiochus Epiphanes, all right. He takes them out, and he starts ruling. He starts putting hell on us. Okay, he starts putting hell on us, which is why we just read about the league that we made with the Romans. Okay, and they basically told him, "Yo, shut that down, or else we gonna if Jake complains again, we're gonna pull up on your ass." All right. Now, after we start getting set up, you had an individual here by the name of Alexander. All right, Alexander Ballas. All right, it says here, I'll read it. First Maccabees chapter 10, verse 1. It says, in the 160th year, Alexander, the son of Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, all right, went up and took Ptolemais, for the people had received him, by means whereof he reigned there. All right, so you had Alexander, which it says here he was the son of Epiphanes, okay, probably another son, that Antiochus had, all right. He comes up and he wants to take the kingdom, all right, from Demetrius. So now both sides are looking at Jake. They're looking at us as in, okay, Demetrius says, well, I need the help of those. I need to cleave to those Israelites so that they can help me take out Alexander. But Alexander's also like, well, now I need to cleave on I need to win their support, okay, so that they can help me take out Demetrius. All right, so here it is. You have that's why it says that they shall cleave to them with flatteries. Okay, once again, those fine promises, those smooth sayings, those rewards, those all of that. Look, if you work with me, I'll give you this. Nah, if you work with me, I'll give you this. All right, to try and cleave onto us, that we could help them take out the other side. And naturally, we're gonna read it. All right, First Maccabees chapter 10, verse 2. All right, so it says, now when King Demetrius heard thereof, when he heard that Alexander had pulled up, he gathered together an exceeding great host and went forth against them to fight. Moreover, check this out, Demetrius sent letters unto Jonathan with loving words, so as he magnified him. Flatteries. For he said, let us first make peace with him before he join with Alexander against us, else he will remember all the evils that we have done against him and against his brethren and his people. Wherefore he gave him authority to gather together an host and to provide weapons, that he might aid him in battle. So, because remember, at this point we're still technically under the Seleucid foot. We're coming up, but we're still under their foot. So he's like, look, I'm gonna give you, certain things we couldn't do, but now he's saying, look, I'll give you the authority. You could raise an army. I'll give you weapons, and you help me in the battle, and we take out Alexander. It says he commanded also that the hostages that were in the tower should be delivered him. Then came Jonathan to Jerusalem and read the letters in the audience of all the people and of them that were in the tower, who were sore afraid when they heard that the king had given him authority to gather together an host. All right. It says, whereupon they of the tower delivered their hostages unto Jonathan, and he delivered them unto their parents. And then they start going in. Now we're going to jump down to verse 15. So you have Demetrius, who this is his first attempt to cleave, all right, to us. But then Alexander hears this, all right, and it says what? Verse 15. It says, now when King Alexander had heard what promises Demetrius had sent unto Jonathan, when also it was told him of the battles and noble acts which he and his brethren had done, and of the pains that they had endured, he said, shall we find such another man? Now therefore we will make him our friend and confederate. So now we're going to cleave to him. It says, so we're going to try to win him over. It says, upon this he wrote a letter and sent it unto him, according to these words, saying, King Alexander to his brother Jonathan sendeth greeting. We have heard of thee that thou art a man of great power, and meet to be our friend. Wherefore now this day we ordain thee to be the high priest of thy nation. We're going to set you up as high priest, and to be called the king's friend. We're going to call you the king's friend. We're going to bring you up. It says, and withal he sent him a purple robe and a crown of gold, and require thee to take our part and keep friendship with us. See, are these not attempts to cleave to us with flatteries? Right? So it says, so in the 7th month and in the 160th year, at the Feast of Tabernacles, Jonathan put on the holy robe and gathered together forces and provided much armor. It says, wherefore when Demetrius heard, he was very sorry and said, what have we done that Alexander hath prevented us in making amity with the Jews to strengthen himself? I will also write unto them words of encouragement, and promise them dignities and gifts, that I may have their aid. So he's like, oh, Alexander, we gotta basically bring a better, we gotta bring a better pitch. So it says, he sent unto them therefore to this effect, King Demetrius unto the people of the Jews sendeth greetings. Whereas ye have kept covenants with us, and continued in our friendship, not joining yourselves with our enemies, we have heard hereof and are glad. Wherefore now continue ye still to be faithful unto us, and we will recompense you for all the things ye do in our behalf, and will grant you many immunities and give you rewards. And now do I free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews from tributes and from customs of salt and from crown taxes and from that which appertaineth unto me, to receive for the third part of the seed, or third part or the seed, and the half of the fruit of the tree. So these are things that we had to basically pay or give to them, being that we were under them. All right. But as a part of those flatteries, he said, look, you ain't got to do any of that no more. I release you. You're free. You can be autonomous. All right. It says, I release it from this day forth, so that they shall not be taken of the land of Judea, nor of the 3 governments which are added thereunto, out of the country of Samaria and Galilee, from this day forth forevermore. Let Jerusalem be holy and free, with her borders thereof, both from tenths and tributes. It says, and as for the tower which is at Jerusalem, I yield up authority over it, and give the high priest that he may set in it such men as he shall choose to keep. See, because they set up a tower in Jerusalem as a snare, okay, to watch Jerusalem. I believe that's actually in the book of First Maccabees, the 1st chapter. Let's see if I could find it. Just bear with me 1 second. Might be in the 2nd chapter, but it says they built the strongholds. Let's see, strongholds, stronghold. Oh boy, tower. Yeah, I really want to find this. Yeah, it's not. If I find it, maybe I'll find it later. But they basically set up these, tower strongholds where they had certain wicked Israelites and sort of almost like a garrison, to where they could use it to come at Jake. All right, but let's keep going into the flatteries, right? So it says there we go. That's why he says in verse 32, continuing 1 Maccabees 10 and 32, that he may set in it such men as he shall choose to keep it. So they're not going to be people that Demetrius or the Seleucid king would set up, but Jonathan could choose whoever he wanted to put there. Moreover, I freely set at liberty every one of the Jews that were carried captives out of the land of Judea into any part of my kingdom. And I will that all my officers remit the tributes even of their cattle. Moreover, I will that all the feasts and Sabbaths and new moons and solemn days and all the 3 days before the feast and the 3 days after the feast shall be all of immunity and freedom for all the Jews in my realm. And also no man shall have authority to meddle with or to molest any of them in any matter. I will further that they be enrolled amongst the king's forces, about 30,000 men of the Jews, unto whom pay shall be given as belongeth to all the king's forces. And of them some shall be placed in the king's strongholds, of whom also some shall be set over the affairs of the kingdom, which are of trust. So he's going to put Jake in high positions, right? And I will that their overseers and governors be of themselves. So I'm not going to set up any of my overseers and governors. You can choose your own overseers and governors, and that they live after their own laws. You can live after your own laws, even as the king hath commanded in the land of Judea. So reversing the things that Antiochus did, right? It says, and concerning the 3 governments that are added to Judea from the country of Samaria, let them be joined with Judea, that they may be reckoned to be under one, nor bound to obey other authority than the high priest. So I'm going to give you power over all these 3 governments. As for Ptolemaeus and the land pertaining thereunto, I give it as a free gift to the sanctuary at Jerusalem for the necessary expenses of the sanctuary. Moreover, I give I give every year 15,000 shekels of silver out of the king's accounts from the places appertaining, and all the overplus which the officers paid not as in former time, from henceforth shall be given toward the works of the temple. And beside this, so he was desperate. But see, this was the spirit, because the Lord was putting the spirit on him out of desperation to restore these things onto Jake. Okay, after the indignation was passed. All right, it says, and beside this 5,000 shekels of silver, which they took. All right, so like um, which they took from the uses of the temple out of the accounts year by year. Even those things shall be released, because they appertain to the priests that minister. And whosoever they shall be, or they be, that flee unto the temple at Jerusalem, or be within the liberties hereof, being indebted to the king, or for any other matter, let them be at liberty, and all that they have in my realm. For the building also of the repairing of the works of the sanctuary, expenses shall be given of the king's account. Yea, and for the building of the walls of Jerusalem, and the fortifying thereof round about, expenses shall be given out of the king's account, as also for the building of the walls in Judea. So your renovations, your buildings, your fortifications, we gonna pay for it. Now when Jonathan and the people heard these words, they gave no credit unto them, nor received them, because they remembered the great evil that he had done in Israel, for he had afflicted them very sore. But with Alexander they were well pleased, because he was the first that entreated of true peace with them, and they were confederate with him always. All right, and so boom. Then gathered King Alexander great forces. This is not Alexander the Great. All right, and camped over against Demetrius. And after the two kings had joined battle, Demetrius' host fled, but Alexander followed after him and prevailed against him. And he continued the battle very sore until the sun went down. And that day was Demetrius slain. All right. So that was an example of how they cleaved onto us with flatteries. Okay. And now verse 35, it says, and some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. Okay, so now it says that some of them of understanding shall fall. So you had certain Israelites, okay, who were, you know, of the righteous part. You could say the elect in that time. All right, the Maccabees brothers, you know, so on and so forth, shall fall, meaning some of them were gonna die. All right, but they were gonna die by being put in certain situations to try them, okay, and to purge them, and to make them white, to make them pure, okay, by them having to go through those trying and temptatious, if that's even a word, deaths, okay, even to the time of the end. All right, the time of the end of the Hasmonean dynasty, because it is yet for an appointed time. See, so all this that was going to happen to Jake was yet for an appointed time. And I actually have a precept real quick. The book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 verse 5, it says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Okay, so going back, that's why it says to try them. See, so they were some of them were put to death. Some of them were like Eleazar, for example, you know, and the brothers in the Maccabees, for example, you know. So that's an example of Daniel 11 and 35. Okay, and pretty much I'm gonna stop it right there. Okay, yeah, that was from verse 32 to 35. You know, so just next time, you know, we'll continue from 36 on down. But just recapping, verse 32, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. Certain Israelites were Antiochus paid off. Okay, but the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. You had other Israelites that remained faithful, you know, to the Lord and the covenant, all right, and gave up their lives. And they that understand shall, among the people, shall instruct many. Yeah, all right, going into the Hasmonean family. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity and by spoil many days. Some of them died. Some other Israelites, you know, who followed the instructions and led Israel were also put to death. Okay, it says, now when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help. So while Israel was in that low state, all right, being trodden down, that's when the Most High raised up, you know, the Hasmonean family. All right, he sent angels down to help us. You know, we also appeal to the Romans for help. All right, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. We read about that in 1 Maccabees, the 10th chapter. Okay, and some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them and to purge and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. All right, meaning that you are going to have, certain Israelites, all right, who were going to be put in certain conditions and go through certain deaths, all right, that was to purify them and to try them, all right, to make them pure. Okay, so with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kudash. Until next time, Shalom.